It's time for the home studio to get an update. As you can see here, it's not the biggest space. It's a great room. I love it. I love how I've got it set up. But, two bands practice here. I spend a lot of time in this room. Obviously, this is where I play the drums and the guitar for me practicing. Get other people around playing music. Fills up pretty quickly. It's also where I do all of my development and media editing, or most of my development and media editing. And if you work in a space similar to this, I'm sure that there will be some pointers and things that will help out as well. First thing, mounting the board on the wall and putting some pegboard up for everyone was huge for the space. First of all, each band member gets their own hook, so we all know which headphone jack we're plugging into, and we all know where our cables are. It's very easy to get set up. This doesn't seem like it saves you that much space compared to when it was laying down, but it has made a huge change in how the space actually feels and behaves. We all know which hook is ours, which headphone jack is ours, extra cables are over here, and the TV is right above if we need to just kind of watch something. Hey, have you seen the new Julian Lage video? Or we can Bluetooth into this. Everything kind of focuses in on this area. As a result, this needs to talk to the DAW, which is right behind us, and some cables are long enough to thread along the wall in that direction. I'm not sure if you can see some there, but I know you can see the cable for the drum snake that goes over the door and then down to the spaghetti on the floor there. I want to bring up that I tried running the drum mic snake under the door, and it pretty much fits with the transition that's there, but it was just enough to be sketchy and to maybe be a trip hazard, but definitely just didn't feel right. So anytime that I could, it's not as pretty as I would like, but I would prefer it be functional and not looking that great, as opposed to it being a trip hazard or something like that going wrong. So first tip, go ahead and mount something like this if you can. Now, the thing that I hate the most about this is some cables weren't long enough to route around the edges, and I made this like speed bump that goes through the center of the space that connects over to the computer. This is one of the main things that I want to fix about the space. So the original idea was to just kind of incrementally update the studio space, like update the flow of all the cabling and the data and have more space for us to jam and practice. But I think it also needs an aesthetic update. We just did our first live stream from in here. I'm going to be doing more of those. I'm going to be doing a lot more recording in here. So I've given myself a really hard budget of $300 to do something with the lighting in here. I think I'm going to get some moving headlamps, laser spotlights, whatever. I'm not quite sure exactly what they are, but I'm going to get some of those in the controller and just kind of like really update the space aesthetically, mostly with light, and also the space itself and the flow of data and music. Full disclosure, the folks from Shehds sent this over, 2 of them. Fits just about into my budget, and you're going to get my honest review of all of it. First, let's see what we're getting for this moving head spotlight laser. It's a power cable. I believe this is called a DMX cable. Looks like an XLR to me as a musician. And this is a, looks like a mounting brace or something. And then the unit itself, it looks like. Oh, also a user's manual. I'm sure that's going to be useful because I'm not sure I mentioned this earlier. I'm not a lighting person, never done DJ stuff or lighting stuff, so this is all a new thing for me. I wanted stuff that could get me started and be fun, and I could add it to the space pretty quickly. So let me grab this guy. More packaging in there too. This is the unit itself. And as someone who is used to having plenty of guitars and drums around, but not like, and computers, but not like lighting stuff, this is a really, like, things feel like they just got like real, there's moving parts and electronics and stuff here. Like I said, I'm brand new to this, so let's see what happens. Up. Let's see if it could just come to life or something. Yep, that's it's kind of intimidating. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like the robots in the original RoboCop. You have 20 seconds to comply. But yeah, really cool. Actually, the first thing I'm noticing is I actually was expecting them to be louder. And this is probably as quiet, if not quieter, than the other light that I've had for forever, which was super cheap and is not going to be able to do as much as this can. Let me see if I can get it to dance around or something. There we go. Alright, yeah. This must be some type of demo mode. I don't know how to use this stuff yet, but yeah, I'm super excited about being able to add this and maybe be able to add programming to it. It's going to be really great for doing live streams and stuff in here. These are great, and I can imagine I can even bring them out if we're going to be performing somewhere and don't know what the lights are. Maybe have a light show programmed or something, if I get to that. We'll sort that all out later, but yeah, these are, actually I pulled it up over here. JMS WEBB 6x15 watt Laser+Beam moving headlight. I'll put links in the description, but we'll be getting back to this later, I'm sure. I also picked up a DMX controller. You can find a ton of these. They almost all look exactly like this, with the entry-level model is about 40 bucks. And since I was brand new to this, I wanted to do the research. And the cabling, I'm using the included DMX cables that came with the lighting fixtures. I've ordered some longer ones. These are about 3 feet each, but I read a lot of stuff that said don't use mic cables, don't use XLR cables with these because they have a different impedance. I don't know enough about this to know what that could damage or why it would be bad. Please leave a comment if you do. But I decided to actually order some longer DMX cables as well. And then finally, the other thing that I found just different from a lot of the videos that I was watching is the use of a DMX terminator on the last light. These are daisy chained, so the cable comes out of the board into the first light and then out of the first light into the second light. And I've seen a lot of videos where people don't use the terminator on the out of the end light, the terminus light. But I did read some stuff that said, hey, make sure you have one. It were a couple bucks, so I figured I would buy one. Again, if you know, and I'm sure most people out there do, know more than me why that would be important or why it's not needed, please leave a comment below, because I'm brand new to this stuff and it is a little bit confusing. So with that said, these things are pretty cool. Take it out of blackout mode, and I've already got a couple scenes programmed in, and I'm just super pumped to add this to the practice space and to add this to the ambiance of the space where I spend a ton of my time and do a lot of my work, and where other people will come in and jam. When I get the space turned over, I'll figure out the right spot for these spots, I should say, and then we'll really see what it's capable of doing at that point in time. So another big one for me is my workspace desk here. It takes up a huge chunk of the space, and I want to prioritize music. The other thing that it does is it breaks up the flow of the space. Once the corner desk is in the corner, that's why it's called a corner desk, right? So once the corner desk is in the corner with a computer, all the technology will kind of be consolidated in this area. You can come in, and the flow of the room will be the technology stuff that'll open up to the like the windows, and then this will all be performance practice space and the music on that side. And it literally wraps all the way around from the door, all the way around the whole room. Will be a giant loop of potential productivity. This is my main whiteboard. There's a little teeny whiteboard over the cat tree over there, and there's even another whiteboard over here. While those are really important to me as a developer, what they have become, and what I think is a really important thing that can help with practice, is a place where you can see there's duplicate information. There's chord charts over there and the same chords over there, and sometimes I write different notes for different people at different practices depending on what band's in here and what's happening at any time on these whiteboards. So having whiteboards facing in different directions can be super helpful. You can even have notes for the keyboardist over there, notes for the bassist over there, etc. I'm not even done with this wall yet, and I am super happy with it already. So now the wall is done. The desk is in the corner, and the place feels absolutely cavernous compared to how it did before. There's always a few optimizations you can do when you do a reorg like this, and I got a few of them in. But one thing I forgot to mention earlier is thinking about power drops. So I have these two out, and the cables are pretty long on them, so we can pull them out and we can power any kind of like setup for a jam or a rehearsal in here. There's another one mounted to the wall here, of course. Everything's mounted to the wall. Also, I separate and label everything. So power, quarter-inch XLR, those are the cameras, the extra recording stuff, the analog recording stuff. It's all kind of organized. It doesn't take long to do, and once you get in the habit of doing it, it makes a world of difference the next time you need to find something. The space feels great. It's time to light it and see what we can do. All right, so I've got the DMX controller I'm going to kind of keep here, connect to that spotlight, which is now on top of the speaker. So I've got these two shelves that I built specifically for the speakers, the mains in the room, and I'm going to have the DMX controller here with a 25-foot cable, which is way bigger than the room, so it'll be able to go anywhere. It'll go up in the room. I control it from anywhere. That'll go up to this, and then that's going to daisy chain over to another light over here. I've got another 25-foot DMX cable that I've hung behind the TV here. We'll see how that looks. So on first test, this already looks great. It feels really good. I want to give it a little bit more atmosphere, and as much as I would like this little incense holder to fog up the whole room, I'm pretty lucky. Shout out to my bass player Tony. This is his fog machine, and once you plug them in, they take a bit to get going, but once they do, it goes a long way in a tiny space like this. Okay, so like I said, I use push pins a lot, and you probably saw there how some of that stuff was hung up. And what I'll do is I'll just take the Velcro strap, wrap it around whatever cables I need to be up somewhere, and then leave a tab open and just push pin this directly into the wall, and it'll hang there, doing minimal damage and holding the cables in place. Really simple hack for a studio space like this. Okay, so bonus tip, it's great to have something like this out. My buddy Phil made this, thanks dude, really appreciate it. Specifically for picks, but it kind of became a place where all of the things can go that someone might need to grab. Picks, tuners, etc. Second pro tip, the Jackery, if you can afford having one around, is amazing. It has solar panels, so everything that can charge, I do charge here with free energy, and I can take it on the road and use the plugs to actually record out in the field, like you've probably seen me do. So some final thoughts. First of all, it's really healthy to just turn your space over every now and then. You kind of make incremental changes until you get to a point where it's like, I need to do a big one, and that's what this one was. Of the 10 tips, I think the first one is probably the most important, just hang it up. Once you do that, you've created a bunch of space, but now the walls are all taken up by things, and it's hard to put aesthetic stuff up. So lights. Thanks again to Shehds for sending out those lights, and just to show like how transformative it is for the space. This is kind of the office setup right now, and just by changing my little LEDs, and of course I have the controls for the lights mounted on the wall. In just a couple moments, I've got a much more inspiring space, and it's really, it's just really so much fun, and I've got a lot of options even for a space this size, so I would highly consider thinking of lights as an aesthetic upgrade for the space as much as anything else. Yeah, so with that comes one other consideration that I didn't really have until I got to the editing space, which is that usually I just think about where the audio and where the power and the data is going. Now there's also lights, so there's just another dimension to cabling, and you know, they usually mostly run in parallel, but where they split off is you know, where you might need to just put a little bit of extra thought into it. So yeah, this was a totally different video than the type of stuff that I usually make for this channel. It's usually music videos, so if you dug any of the music that you heard in the background, please feel free to subscribe so you can catch any of that other stuff, and you'll see the new space on the next live streams and videos. Cheers.